there are no losers in a competition like this. The fact that people have actually got something that they're proud of, that they're actually willing to come and share, makes them a winner. And we had come here not really expecting to win, and it was quite, in fact, even now I'm thinking back on it, I'm getting quite emotional about it, because they were damn good, if I had been a judge, maybe I wouldn't have won. Because there were other entries which were very, very good. And again, this year going around the stalls in the coffee room, there are incredible pieces of work being done. But for us, having won something like this and having been recognized by our peers, because the voting effectively is being done by other surgeons, nurses, doctors, people who work in the NHS. And it's immeasurably increased our team spirit across the whole hospital. And in these, this era where we are working within the NHS, where there is this is the most politest way I could put this, okay? Dissociation between clinical staff and management. But in reality, what I'm trying to say is that the managers don't really care a damn about quality in favor of quantity, or certainly not as much as they should. And in this kind of a time that we are working in, something like this gives you a huge morale boost to have that. Because when we got this, one of the first things that I got my secretary to do was to photocopy our award and take a photograph of the award, the award itself and the certificate, print everything in color and literally 50 copies for each department that took part in this, and individual letters and copies to individual people, so that they could have it. And most departments, when you walk around today, somewhere along the wall in the X-ray department or an endoscopy or whatever, there is a PENNA award, a nicely framed thing which we distributed, which means a lot to the people, because this is not, as I said right at the beginning, this is not my achievement. It is the contribution of several people. Great. So having won this, what was reasonable to expect, okay? So this was what we thought we would reasonably expect. We could expect that our own LHB would spread this across other colorectal services within our own organization. That our trust or LHB would spread it across to other specialties like breast cancer or other specialties, across the region to other hospitals in South Wales, in Wales in general or whatever, and wider dissemination across the NHS, and perhaps some international interest. And this is what should have happened in the real world, in the ideal world. But in the real world, international recognition, yes. We've actually been interviewed by a company that advises healthcare providers in the US. Nothing has come of it, but they've taken the trouble to find out about us and phone us up and have a detailed telephone interview. Wider dissemination across the NHS, we've had lots of interest from various hospitals because this project has been presented at the Association of Surgeons meeting, etc., etc. And other hospitals have asked, but nobody else has done a similar product yet that we know of. Multiple requests again from the area, but look at what's happening within the trust itself, within our LHB itself. No real progression at all within our organization. And again, this is the politest way I could do this when I was coming along on the train preparing this talk this morning. And all I can say is that is it time that we have to achieve stuff not with our managers, but we've got to do it in spite of our managers. Now I say that as almost a challenge in a way that we can achieve it, but we just have to be passionate about what we do, because ultimately, as clinicians who deal with people, we are, after all, if we give up on trying to improve the patient experience, who the hell else is going to do it? Thanks very much.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, Professor Haray. Harry has suggested that he finished a few minutes early so he could take questions. So, could I ask the audience if they have any questions? Thank you. There's... I'm going to swap over while we do this, if that's okay.
Sure, please.
Yeah.
Shall I shut it down?
Thank you for that. It looks like a wonderful DVD and clearly thoroughly embedded in enhancing the patient experience. This is a sort of peripheral question in a way. One of your components of the DVD was around the multidisciplinary team meeting. And I just wondered whether, when your patients have seen that DVD, whether you get asked about, well, what's our role in the multidisciplinary team meeting as a patient? The reason for asking that question is we've been looking in other multidisciplinary team settings, and it's one of those areas where it's a real challenge to get the patient engagement into that process, or to get away from a perception at least that somebody's going to go off and in a clever team of professionals and decide what's right for me. So I just wonder whether you've got any response from your patients saying, well, how do I get involved in that?
Well, I think, yeah, well, we haven't, I'm just trying to remember, we haven't been asked that question in those words. But that's perhaps because the way we talk to, when we give them the DVD, we haven't reduced the amount of time we spend counseling patients or talking to them or spending the amount of time that we used to do before remains the same. This is additional rather than instead of what we were doing. And historically, what we used to tell patients that we have a system of discussing you as an individual, and I'll present you to a group of specialists, and I will come back to you with a recommendation from that group, and I will speak to you on behalf of that group. And if you're not happy with what I say to you, I'll take it back to the group, and I will say that. So effectively, the nurse or the doctor who's the point of contact with the patient is their representative, if that makes sense. And we make that clear to the patient anyway. And it comes across on the, obviously I've only given you 10 seconds, 20 seconds of each clip. But we haven't specifically been asked for patient representatives or representation on the group. I think that would be quite difficult.
Hi, I'd like to, it's a bit of an observation and slightly a question, because I think we sometimes think that the issue and the barriers are sometimes around clinical engagement and engaging with clinicians, and it's really interesting to say that you're finding barriers are with your managers. So I think that's quite a challenge, because I think, when you're trying to influence across and above within organisations on this agenda, sometimes can be very, very hard. And there is a role for leaders to play. So my question is, did your board see this video, and actually what impact did that have? And if it was a positive thing, how are we not holding them to account to actually making sure that this is spread across the organisation?